The can of worms with Haason Reddick was pre-opened because the Jets traded for him at a time when they knew he wanted a new contract. They haven't given him a new contract. He stayed away from off-season workouts and gave up $250,000, so it's no surprise. I mean, I was hearing from Jets fans over the weekend, the ones who want to plug their ears and say this is fine. Well, he'll be there for the mandatory camp. He doesn't want to be fined for that. Well, he already gave up $250,000 in a workout bonus not to be there for the off-season workouts.
Yeah.
What's another $50,000 when you've already given up $250,000? So he's not there for the mandatory minicamp. Here is Saleh talking about Reddick, specifically in response to the question of whether Saleh spoke directly to Reddick after the trade was made at a time when everybody knew Reddick wanted a new contract.
We had a conversation, and like I said, the guy's a great dude. He's been in multiple places and played at a high level at multiple places. He's a pro seasoned vet, and he's the last guy I'm worried about on whether or not he'll be ready to play football. He knows what he needs to do to get himself ready. I'm not concerned. I understand that I understand everything that's happening, but at the same time, I know when it comes time to play football, like I said before, he's going to be ready to play football. If this is the worst thing that happens to us, I think we're doing pretty good. So I promise this is not something I'm worried about.
At the time of the trade, did he tell you guys he wanted a new deal here?
You know that. Hate to put it on him, but that's a conversation that he would have had with Joe.
Why inherit someone else's contract headache by trading for it if that's indeed what's going on here?
Like I said, from with regards to those details, I don't know the exact details, and nothing was made aware of. I'm not aware of any of the details that you're looking for in that situation. But it's a question for Joe.
Yeah, hey, they peppered him more aggressively over Reddick than they did with Rodgers, in part because they knew the Reddick issue.
Yeah.
They were able to come to the table with knives out on the Reddick issue. On Rodgers, they were as what the hell as the rest of us. And so, I don't want to bash them for not, while trying to process what's going on here, coming up with the most pointed and incisive questions. But, I wonder if Saleh speaks again today on day 2 of the mandatory minicamp.
He might have to.
He does again. First question, where is he? What's this event that's so important to Rodgers? And you said it was so important to us if it's important to him, but you didn't excuse it. A mess. So the Reddick part is easy. He wants more money. And until he gets it, he ain't showing up.
No.
And they gave up a 3rd-round pick that can become a 2nd-round pick in 2026 for a guy that wants more money. And what do they think they're going to do? They're going to win the staring contest, and he's just going to eventually fold and show up? And does that really help you win? He said something, if this is the worst problem we have, then that's good. Do you really think this is going to be the worst problem the 2024 Jets have? There's going to be a time, I think, by, Thanksgiving where they long for the days when their only problems were Haason Reddick and Aaron Rodgers not being at mandatory minicamp.
Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, hey, they're a talented football team. There's no doubt about that. Now, they got to go out and show it on the football field, right? But there is legit talent. I mean, it's one of the best teams in football on paper. And I think that's why we're all kind of looking at this too, going, wait, there's real potential here, but how's it going to work out? And there's some things that, we don't necessarily love about how things are going down there with the New York Jets. The Haason Reddick thing, again, he's a pass rusher. It's the Seattle scheme. It's not like he's missing anything that I think is going to change his life or the Jets' life, right? The Jets took a calculated risk here. They knew what they were trading for and what they were getting, and I think they looked at it and went, wait, we got all the leverage here, right? This guy, he's got to play. He's got to play at some point. He's not going to do himself any good by sitting on the bench, not looking as good, not being there for training camp, any of that. I mean, if he goes and plays with this defense and the fact that they got so many good players, he's going to have a lot of favorable matchups and look awesome and probably get double-digit sacks, right? And then put the Jets in a bind for a long extension or at least get it somewhere else. Right? But as we sit here right now, no big deal that Haason Reddick's not at minicamp. But I do think he'll be there at training camp. And, do they do they figure out a way just for the year to give him a sweetener, Mike? It'd be another guy here that I would throw in the conversation of like what we saw with other guys in years past where, hey, we recognize your contract's definitely a little low as compared to the market right now, right? You're not Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, or Myles Garrett, or Micah Parsons, but you're that next group of guys down from there, right? You're kind of in that second tier of pass rushers, right? Because if you were in the first tier, the Eagles wouldn't have gotten rid of you and traded you, okay? So that's just the facts of the matter, right? So I could see them throwing a sweetener, but going long-term extension like we talked about, I don't see that, Mike. Like we talked the other day, they got 2 top 25 picks playing defensive end that are one's in year 2 and one's in year 3. That's the future of that position there. Haason Reddick is the splash, the sizzle. Hey, we'll keep you fresh so you can play more years and all of that. And, I think they understood what they were getting into with this situation.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Connor Hughes of SNY, and this is another example of, because I think Hughes is one of the guys, How to Win Friends and Influence People is a book that I bought but never read. I think Hughes is one of the guys they use to get their version of things out there.
Okay.
They did that in the aftermath of, remember that weird thing that Colleen Wolfe from NFL Network did back in late March, that there was a heated conversation between Woody Johnson and Robert Saleh at the league meetings, and there was all sorts of holes in that, and she eventually had to backtrack. Hughes was a guy they used along the way to put their version out there, I believe. So Hughes is now saying, as to Reddick, the team felt they and the player were on the same page at the time of the trade. The Jets made things clear to Reddick they would not rip up his contract before the season. They directly communicated that while adjustments could be discussed, adding incentives based on performance to his current deal, for example, there would not be an extension. Reddick would play out the deal, and if his sack production continued, he'd receive the salary he coveted as a free agent, either with the Jets or another team after 2024. The two sides would reassess after the season. If Reddick wanted to continue to play for the Jets, Reddick was on board. Okay, if that's the Jets version, then why isn't somebody from the Jets saying that? And I can understand that there's a delicate aspect to saying, we thought we had an agreement. We thought we had an understanding. That's why we did the trade. We did the trade because we thought we had an understanding as to where things stood with Haason Reddick, and apparently we didn't. But this is their way, I think, of trying to get it out there without having to put their name on it, without having to put a voice to it.
That's right.
That they thought Reddick was on board, and that's why it feels like this whole thing is blowing up in their face.
I think that it's a little bit of a delicate situation. It is, and I think hey, yeah, they're trying not to stand on a pedestal and look like they're a dictator here for Haason Reddick or anything like that. And also, I think they're trying to soften the blow a little bit about how the New York fan base, and they're trying to protect them to a degree to not tell us that type of stuff right there. So then, Robert Saleh, and the fan base are like, wait, you guys definitely told him that and he's still not here? What the hell, Haason Reddick? And then they kind of turn on him. So I think they're trying to be delicate here for both sides, their own organization, the player himself, right? But yeah, we'll see where this goes. Like I said, Haason Reddick's a hell of a player. Right, but there's also a reason the Eagles moved on, right, and signed a guy from the Jets and Bryce Huff and gave him that money, right? Reddick is real good, but he's up there in age. He's getting up there in age a little bit, and of course, I don't think he's in that upper echelon of pass rusher in the NFL. And I don't think with the Jets in their current situation, I don't see anything long-term extension. Like I said, and it sounds like what Connor Hughes is saying, I could see the dabbling of a little extra money or more incentives, on top of what he's going to get for this year. But something to extend him 2-3 years down the road, I think that'll have to take some extraordinary 17, 18 sack type season. And they go, okay, we got no choice. We got to re-sign this guy to big money.
Well, whatever Reddick ultimately gets, he has decided to sacrifice roughly $300,000. And it's actually more than that, because the fine of $50,000 comes from your net. I don't know how that works. If they withhold it from your pay, then it's pre-tax. I would assume it's pre-tax. So let's just call it $300,000 and be done with it. He's given up $300,000 in compensation from the Jets to take a stand that isn't going to go anywhere. And maybe what they do is they come up with some sort of a sack incentive on the back end, where if he gets double-digit sacks, they give him an extra $1 million, or some sort of formula where if you get 5 sacks, you get $500,000, you get 10 sacks, you get $1 million. You get 15 sacks, you
Exactly.
get $5 million.
Right.
I don't know. They can
Right.
come up with something like that.
Yes, they could.
But you know what? You come up with something like that now. You could have come up with something like that in March when he was on board with it. Whatever. Here's the thing. If what, by all appearances, they've leaked to Connor Hughes to get their version of the story out there, whatever that is,
Yeah.
they should have reached the understanding and gotten it in writing before they ever did the trade, because that's your best time to get the guy to agree. Once you have done the trade and committed to give up a future third-round pick, you have surrendered your leverage, and the player can say, F you, pay me. When you're not going to trade him or trade for him until he agrees to your terms, that's when you have the leverage. That's the negotiating 101. I feel like we're giving plenty of free PR advice, strategic advice, and negotiating advice specifically to New York Jets this morning because they need it. But anyone else out there who's inclined to listen and incorporate that into their, you get your money's worth because it didn't cost you shit to hear this. But you get that deal done before you surrender your leverage by doing the trade. And we've criticized the Rams for that with Jalen Ramsey. We criticized the Texans for that with Laramie Tunsil. We criticized the Seahawks for that with Jamal Adams. You get those deals done. When you're trading for a disgruntled player, get the deal done when the trade is done. That's the way you get your best deal. And he's happy because he's escaping a situation where he doesn't want to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, that would be the ideal situation. Some of those situations are a little different than this one, right? But regardless, yeah, and from what we were seeing from Connor Hughes and him following the team, you kind of get the sense, or from what he's relaying to everybody, that, hey, there was a little bit of a wink or handshake, like, okay, we'll figure something out here. And, of course, I don't know whether those bonuses aren't big enough or whatever that splash of money he's looking for that can maybe help him out for the year and soothe over some worries that he has about what he's making financially. They're not seeing eye to eye there. But eventually, again, this is when I get into where, the Jalen Ramsey and the Laramie Tunsil and all of that, and Jamal Adams as well, it was huge trade and guys that were in the prime of their career, and you were like, whoa, they're definitely one of the best at their position, period. And that's not necessarily the case with Haason Reddick, who's, like I said, getting up there in age, really damn good, but not in that class of I'm going to be paid the highest paid guy in all of football. And that's where I think eventually he's going to have to show up for his own benefit and to put out his best foot, forward.
So, Jets fans, everything is fine. This situation is perfectly fine. There is nothing to be alarmed about by your current circumstances. Go ahead and drink your coffee while the room burns around you. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.